I think we're time.
We're time? We are time!
We are Father Time. For many years eternal we have watched over. We are time.
We are time.
JT.
Mike D.
What a pleasant week we've been having. In particular, last night we watched Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler vehicle.
Yep.
Directed by the Safdie brothers.
Yep.
Otherwise unknown to us. New directors for our eyes and ears.
For our purposes, yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Adam Sandler's performance. I enjoyed the cast as a whole. I felt was like solid. I don't feel like there was any like superstar. There wasn't any like holes. It seemed pretty rounded. The story like kept you guessing, which I think for me is like watchability, like entertainment value. It's there. Right. I mean, it was, you wanted to know what was going to happen. It always felt like you were in the middle of something.
Yes.
Which is
you were always there.
You were always in the middle. It was like these different parts of the story blended together for him, right?
The way I look at it is that his character was building like a giant Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah.
Where he's just like setting all these dominoes to like line up to hopefully get that big payoff at the end.
Right.
And it's like, it just becomes such a cluster.
Yeah.
With all the things that he's juggling.
Sure.
That it's like
But that's kind of the character, right? Like he's trying to manage all these parts of his life that are like falling apart.
Right.
And he's like patching them with duct tape that he stole from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
I think Adam Sandler did a really good job. It was, I think, a character that played to his strengths because he was like a funny guy. It was a serious movie, but the character was like kind of a goofy dude. Like
kind of quirky.
Yeah. Like I could have totally seen one of the mobster guys saying like, you know, throwing him up against the wall and saying, "I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast."
Yeah.
And then he would say,
"You eat pieces of shit for breakfast."
And that would have been totally within his character.
Sure.
Like, so it was definitely like an Adam Sandler role, even if it was a serious movie, you know, far removed from all of his comedic roles,
right,
especially of late.
Sure.
Adam Sandler's character, like within the plot, the way I thought of it is like, you know that feeling when you're like waiting on your paycheck, but you have to pay rent, and you're like hoping that your account doesn't overdraft. What's
the phrase, borrowing from Paul?
Peter to pay Paul?
Yeah.
That's his entire life, is he's always shifting funds from like this spot to this spot.
Right.
And it just like...
It's like a Ponzi scheme.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like a one-man Ponzi scheme.
Basically. And it's all like crumbling down on top of him, and he's just trying to like hold the roof up. So a lot of people played themselves within the movie. I know we mentioned Kevin Garnett in particular. I think he actually did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Playing a fictionalized version of himself.
I feel like when you're trying to like transition from like being an athlete to like whatever you want to be, musician or actor or whatever, there's like this level of, I don't know, like skill that sometimes just isn't there. Like it's not believable.
Right.
And like I would not have known that he was like a pro basketball player.
Right.
Like if you would have told me like, oh, we hired a professional actor to pretend to be a basketball player, I would have totally bought it.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, like you said,
he pulled it off.
Yeah. It was believable. I wasn't like blown away like, oh my God, so good, but like I didn't question it.
Keith Williams Richards. Just dude they found on the street and said...
And his name is Keith Richards.
Yeah. You look like a tough looking goon. Like, we're gonna put you in our movie, and I think he pulled it off pretty well.
I wouldn't, I didn't know until you like...
I felt like he was like a Ray Liotta, like a dude that's been in every single mob movie you've ever watched, and you just don't know what his name is. Like
if you would have said he was in 8 other mobster movies as like the sidekick or whatever, like I would have totally bought it.
Yeah.
So that, interesting. Fun fact.
But they use like simple but effective tools to like, you know, raise the tension, and there was like never a dull moment throughout the whole thing. and there was barely ever even a quiet moment.
Yeah.
Like, where everyone was just yelling the entire time.
And you can hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
So
like, you could make out the main points that you needed to hear.
Yeah.
But it was just like in this cacophony of people screaming at each other.
I did, and that goes back to like the watchability or the entertainment I brought up earlier. Like the pacing for me was like on point.
And it just builds and builds.
It edges you closer to this, like the edge of the seat.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the movie, you're like what?
And there's like some very small parts that are like quiet and slow, where he's like walking his trash can to the street or like laying down to go to sleep. And
like
those are the
at
moments
play, right?
that like that's when it sinks in, like, okay, all this shit that I just witnessed, it's like this is how bad of a situation this guy is actually in.
That's, you can feel
like,
the character though, right?
Yeah.
Because like if it's like a dinner scene or whatever, and it's like that moment of solitude,
Yeah.
where he's like, this makes what I'm doing like palatable,
Right.
right? Like he's doing it for his family.
True. So I also think that our cinematographer, Darius Khondji, did not disappoint. It was a very well shot movie, even though it was filled with ugly people doing ugly things.
You know that the like cinematographer or the visual artist or whoever did a good job when you don't really remember it, or like nothing jumps out to like what kind of shot was that, or like
Right.
why was that placed there, this cut. Like if you don't notice it, that's when you know.
Yeah.
It's like you're too involved in the story, right?
So, I think it's about time
It's about time. We are time.
to rate Uncut Gems.
Let's rate it. Line up the jars.
Rate
Let's
it.
fill them, baby.
How many jars we got? JT.
We're starting with me.
Is
Shoot.
it fair to always start with you? I always
Shoot.
want to throw it to you.
Why don't you take this one, Mike D?
I give Uncut Gems my first 9 out of 10.
Really?
9 out of 10 jars.
Okay.
And that I just found the movie nearly flawless. The one thing, if I'm getting nitpicky, is some of the secondary characters could have been developed more with their story, with their motivations. Like, the only thing that would take away a point is just expand on that story a little bit. But otherwise, I mean, it was like an immensely enjoyable film to watch. And
I agree with the enjoyability.
I was just on the edge of my seat like the whole time.
For standard moviegoer, without like looking into the specifics like we're trying to navigate here, like enjoyable movie. I'm going to echo one of your previous ratings where you gave a great 8. I'm going to say a very strong 8. And I second your note on some of the character development stuff. There's some stuff to be desired there.
Yeah.
I feel like closure-wise, there was a couple things that could have been tidied up to give you a little more sense of fulfillment.
Sure.
My one gripe, and I noticed this like pretty early on, and it stayed constant through the movie, I found some of the backing music and audio incredibly distracting and in some cases loud.
Okay.
Like that first scene where he walks into his jewelry store and he's going into the back room.
Yeah.
That audio was so loud.
Yeah.
Like the music,
Okay.
like you couldn't hear any of the dialogue. It was like somebody meant to volume level and just forgot. And they're just like,
So the sound mixing could have been better.
The sound mixing was not.
And part
impressive.
of like, so some of the stuff between the dialogue and maybe with the music is just like creating this atmosphere of like what the hell is going on.
Right.
And so like the blaring music, I know like in the
I
concert scene,
Like the pacing
like
of it
makes
sense.
it more like.
But if it's too loud and like you can't hear what's happening or what's being said, then it takes away from like the part of the story. Right. Especially if they're already yelling. Like,
I can only imagine the amount of dialogue that we missed hearing because of everything else going on.
Like watch the movie with subtitles and be like,
oh, it's probably like just taking up the entire screen.
Right.
That whoever gets tasked with subtitling that movie, I do not envy them.
Oof. So the official jam rating,
yes,
of Uncut Gems,
yes,
we got 8.5 jars.
8.5 jars.
Yeah. Solid movie. We're on a good run.
We are. Who do you recommend go see Uncut Gems.
Somebody who wants like a sleeper action movie.
Yeah, it's
almost,
like
right?
it's a thrill ride without.
I don't want to say a psychological thriller because you don't have to think much, but if you want to sort of like fall into a character, right? Sort of feel
his
like
world.
You want the world of like somebody who's always on edge, who's like taken from here to fix this, and it's like sort of this like organized chaos, if you will, like disarray, and you want to like just kind of fall into that and put your stuff aside, and you want to leave a movie almost feeling like better about your situation because you're like, this is what it could be if I just kind of like made some mistakes here and there,
right?
But enjoyable at the same time.
I would recommend it to any Adam Sandler fan. Like, you have his humor in there. It's spiced in.
It's like dulled down compared to his
like,
normal movies, but it's sprinkled in there.
He doesn't like chase after a penguin or anything, but he does some, he does some little goofy things and stuff. I can't say that I was blown away by his performance because it wasn't like, I don't think it was Oscar worthy or anything.
It's not a character that has a lot of depth.
But I was surprised that Adam Sandler like took on this role and like, brought it home, like did a good job with it. We've been dying to talk about spoilers. Throw up that spoiler alert. We're gonna dive into Uncut Gems. The very first thing before we get into any of the analysis, I need to call you out on the fact that at the beginning of the movie, it showed you like the inside of the gem, and it was like a really cool visual effect, and it slowly transitioned to this other tube-like structure, and you immediately called it out that it was a poop chute, like way before anyone
as a joke
should have known. And lo and behold, Adam Sandler's character is getting a colonoscopy, and this man knows the inside of a human digestive system. It
had that weird, like, smooth, ridgy, like the only time you see that in the world is when you video inside someone's body.
Sure.
And it's either his throat or his ass, and the butt's more entertaining.
Yeah.
So I brought up poop chute.
You got it.
So bonus points for me.
The other thing that I really liked was the glass door malfunctioning.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's so many things that are going wrong in this guy's life, and they find ways of like using it to advance the plot. And so like there's a scene with Kevin Garnett's character where he's trying to get the gem back, and he's like right on the other side of the door, and the door is jammed.
Yeah.
And so it just that creates so much tension, and it's like get the door
right
open,
there,
get the door open. It was like, and he said for the guy to go get the hammer. I thought they were just gonna smash the
That's
door.
what I thought, but I was like, it's gotta be bulletproof, man.
Right. So they ended up finagling it and getting the thing open. But then lo and behold, the jam door comes back for the climax and is used again in like an even smarter way. So I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to bring up earlier was the gambling piece. So like initially they make it pretty clear that, because he places the bet early on, like he's obviously a gambler, right? That's probably where this money's going. And then up until the climax, right, they slowly introduce more and more, and then you realize like how much of like when you're watching his reaction to the basketball game, because he knows how much is on the line, that's the apex of like what the gambler's chasing, right? That rush,
the high.
And it's like, he's been there before with smaller things, but it wore off, right? And he needed more and more, and now he's got like literally his life on the line.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it mattered anyway, but he's got his life on the line to pay off all these debts, riding on this game, and just like his reaction is like how deep into this gambling addiction he is.
Yeah.
Like added a level of complexity to the character.
When he has like his breakdown, where his girlfriend's like trying to console him, and he's in the office, he looks over at the side of his desk, and there's an empty glass. And like while he's bawling his eyes out and like saying that his life's falling apart, he looks at this empty glass, and I was like, what's that? And then I remembered, oh, that was where the fish was, his favorite fish. Like his world is falling apart so fast that even I forgot it, and I'm watching it happen.
Right.
when I first saw that he had a fish tank, I was like, this guy has way too much going on to like care for any pets. And then it turns out that he actually like loves his fish, and like, you know, his contact dumps Powerade or something into it,
whatever the hell that was, yeah,
and like is about to kill the fish, and he saves his favorite fish and puts it in this glass. Everything else is like going on, and he totally forgets that the fish was in there. Who knows what happened to it?
Yeah, we didn't get any closure.
He doesn't, because he's got so many other things that he's juggling. And there's like, you know, like I knew that he was going to forget Kevin Garnett's ring at the pawn shop.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that was going to happen because he's got all this other
they
shit
let
going
into
on.
It too, right? He's like, remember last time? And he's like, that wasn't my fault.
And it's like all this stuff is falling apart for him, and then like with the fish in the cup, it fell apart for me. It's like I can't even keep track of what's going on. Like this is becoming such a shit show,
and that's why he kept forgetting things,
like,
right? Imagine being in that place.
He started out like juggling bean bags, and then someone threw in the bowling pins, and now he's juggling with chainsaws, and just like more and more is just piled on, and he just can't keep everything up.
And everybody watching is expecting him to fail.
Yeah.
The guys who were following him, like, were trying to see like what he was doing with the money, or like he had money, or where he was storing it.
Yeah.
And he couldn't take his family on vacation. Like they were eating leftovers, but like somebody was still feeding them information, like he's getting his pool resurfaced or spending money on shit. So they're following him.
Yeah.
Like making this cluster F like way more clusterful, because like stuff is being added into the fray that's not even the case. And you like watch him, like you're seeing him like emotionally, you can see him like the juggling act, right?
And they screwed over his first bet that he won on.
Right, exactly.
Which probably would have paid up.
It would have.
And then covered.
He wouldn't be dead, right? Because he would have paid off that guy.
Which we should get to that.
Yeah, we should.
The elephant in the room.
Sure.
Adam Sandler gets shot in the fucking face at the
end
of this movie.
What a way to end the movie. Like, you got the hip hip hooray, everything's gonna be great. The dude in there knows he's gonna get his money. He doesn't care. He's so pissed off that he lost control of a situation when he's so used to being in control and like beating people up and being the bully. Yeah. That he's just like, F it, I don't care. Damn, shoots him in the cheek, blows his damn brains out.
So I went into this movie thinking Adam Sandler is gonna end the movie dead, because that's just the way this story arc goes. Mm-hmm. Like this is the downfall of a man. We're gonna watch his life crumble. It's either gonna end that way, or it's gonna end in a way where he like does get by, but then he just, you know, doubles down, makes another bet, and just like you can see that he's just gonna fall deeper and deeper into the hole. Like he achieves his dreams, but then he's gonna go right back into the belly of the beast. So when he won that bet, the big bet, the biggest bet of all, won like $1.2 million. Yeah. It's like, holy crap! Like he actually pulled it off. Like what's gonna happen?
And like made it happen so he could pull it off. Like he got into KG's head with the stone unintentionally, but that's because he knew it worked from the prior bet. Mm-hmm. So he played into that again, and it's like you almost got to give the guy more credit than you already were. Yeah, it's like he made that result happen and then took advantage of it twice.
I think that scene was probably my favorite scene of him just hyping KG. Yeah, like it was better than any of the like the sad or downbeat emotional stuff. Like him just like, oh, come on, man, like we're gonna.
And you can see in his face like he's always figuring stuff out on the fly.
Yeah.
Like what's the next move to this con?
Yeah.
Right.
And he knows that it's gonna pay off, and so he's like it's getting him hard.
Well, he
just
doesn't
thinking about it.
He doesn't have an option, right? It's like
either
it works,
what are you gonna do?
Or like he loses everything.
Yeah. I wish they would have just fleshed out those henchmen a little bit more and given them a better reason to do what they did, because that guy could have said to Adam Sandler, as soon as I get out of this glass door, I'm gonna shoot you in the face.
Yeah.
And it still would have been a complete surprise, because he won the game.
Sure.
He won the bet. So, like, there's nothing that you could write into the script that would have made that not a complete surprise.
Sure.
So I wish they would have just left, like, little tidbits of, like, you know, the mob boss, the loan shark guy, was his brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
So he had that familial connection. And I wish there was just, like, some simmering, like, animosity. The henchman saying, like, oh, well, you know, he only takes it easy on you because he's your brother-in-law. If he was my brother-in-law, I'd take it out twice as hard on him. Or something, just something to, like, set them apart from the Arno.
Yeah.
Something to just put a little rift between his henchmen and him. Up to that point, they seemed like his dogs. Like, they were completely loyal to him.
Looking back, that the guy who shot him in the end, right?
Yeah.
He was the only guy who, like, really got physical with him.
Yeah.
Like, he's the one who hung him out the window.
Right.
He's the one who elbowed him twice in public. Like, he was already, like, he had it out to hurt this dude.
He was a hot.
He wasn't the one who was owed money, right? It was Arno or whatever his name was. So this guy was just there to, like, put the pressure on, right? To, like, get physical with him. So in the end, like, I'm not shocked that he shot him in the face, right?
Yeah.
Because he didn't have anything to gain or lose out of it. So he's like, yeah, you won the bet. Great, I'm not getting any of that money.
But so he did have something to gain. Because if he kills Adam Sandler and then shoots Arno, which he did, then he's got all this money.
But they didn't show what happened to the money, right? The chick gets the money.
But they were waiting for the chick.
Yeah.
And she was smart and got that old guy to carry the bags out for her.
Right.
But those two guys that were former Arno's men were waiting for her to take the money.
Right.
So if you think about it, the two guys that were at the jewelry shop, they kill Adam, they kill Arno. Now they've got access to all the jewelry and gold in the shop, which has to be worth a lot of money.
How much of it's real, though? Because even the watches he had in the safe were fake.
True. But then they also have...
They're going to steal some Furbies?
Cut out all that jewelry gold. Don't just forget all of the jewelry.
Yeah.
They've got $1.2 million. Just split it 4 ways because there were 4 henchmen. That's $250,000 for each of them. Arno was probably paying them how much to be his muscle?
Not a lot.
You know, tiddlywinks. So, I mean, $250,000 for each of them would be a huge windfall. I wish
Assuming the plan went through, but the chick outsmarted them, and who knows where that money went. We didn't get any closure there either.
Right. So I just wish there was just a line dropped or something where there was just like some discord between Arno and his henchmen. What do you think happens to the girlfriend with all the money? Speculate.
I mean, if I knew that she wasn't into him as much as she was, I'd say she just takes off.
Right.
Regardless of knowing what happens. But, you know, she's going to come back, find out he's dead. Who knows if they're still going to be there?
Right.
Who knows if she's going to go straight there?
Right.
Maybe they had arrangements to meet somewhere else. Like he was going to get out of there and meet her back at the condo or whatever. Like we don't have enough to go off of to really have any sort of closure, which kind of pissed me off. Like plant a seed of something, like an idea, like drop a hint, like half a line of dialogue. It's like, I'll see you here later, right?
Yeah.
Or something.
The ending was abrupt, and I really liked his death, like how fast it was and how unpoetic it was. We're going to transition to our comment question.
CQ.
Comment question, which is...
Hit him with it.
Adam Sandler, Uncut Gems, comedic actor in a serious role. I want you to highlight one of your favorite roles in a dramatic film taken on by a comedic actor.
I liked Will Ferrell in Everything Must Go.
Okay. That's one I have not seen.
Really?
Yeah.
It's
Tell me about it.
Basically, a man his life kind of fell apart, and he's having like a yard sale of all his stuff.
Okay.
In front of like the house. I don't remember the exact plot, but he's like losing his house, or he lost his house, or something. I mean, he shows like a lot more compassion, you know, and like empathy in like a serious type role than I've seen.
He's not just a giant fat idiot.
Bumbling moron the whole time.
So I'm going to call out Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if you can guess the movie.
Eternal Sunshine.
That would be everyone's favorite of his serious roles. But I'm actually going to give him props for I Love You, Philip Morris. Eternal Sunshine is probably his best movie that he's been in, but he plays sad, depressed, like lonely guy. And I Love You, Philip Morris, Jim Carrey, it plays to his strengths, just like how Uncut Gems plays to Adam Sandler's strengths. In I Love You, Philip Morris, Jim Carrey plays a con man who like is a really exaggerated personality, and he does like some of his weird like body stuff and like goofy stuff that he's known for. But it's a dramatic film, and it's it's a heartfelt movie, and I enjoyed it. One last thing I want to say about Uncut Gems. What would have been the cherry on the top? He's dealing with all these sports personalities. How much would you have loved if Shooter McGavin,
Oh, no shit.
Christopher McDonald, walks into the jewelry store?
Even like a quick
It's like-
cameo would have been like...
I would have loved that.
Yeah.
I would have loved that so much.
Just as like a famous golfer.
Yeah, a famous golfer. They
Yeah.
don't say the name. They don't
Yeah.
do anything. His contact, who like deals with the basketball players, they
Yeah.
just say, "Oh, who's that? Oh, he's like a famous golfer or something. I don't know."
Yeah.
Like,
Or like his KG's coming in and be like, "Oh, we had a golfer in here
Yeah.
earlier," and it's like a quick shot of him leaving the store or
Yeah.
something. Just like, I don't know. That would have been good.
Maybe he's leaving the store and he takes the wrong jacket, and
Oh,
KG
yeah,
says, "I believe that's Mr."